CELPIP Reading Part 4, this is where majority of the students get stuck. Well, here are the best strategies and all the strategies you need to know to pass this challenging part. Number one, the vocabulary level here is very difficult. So you want to make sure you use good word lists at home when you're practicing. That is something you can do for weeks and weeks. The more you do that, the better. Now, part 4 is this passage. Then you have these questions. And then you have these other questions, which is section 2 of part 4, where a commenter is now commenting on the above article, but within his comments you have questions. So first thing you need to understand is you should not skim through. Skimming through is a strategy for IELTS, not CELPIP. It does not help at all. It wastes your time. Now, the thing you need to understand is part 4 is always a debate. It's between two people or sometimes more. And what you need to observe mainly is what this debate is about. There's usually two names, like you can see here, Adam James and Frederick Wendell. These two people are going to talk about opposite things. For example, this guy is a staunch believer in EVs, so he likes electric vehicles. By default, you can assume that Frederick Wendell does not like EVs. In fact, when you read this paragraph, that's exactly what you will find out. So establishing that theme earlier on is important so you know what the debate is all about. Now, you don't have to read everything. In fact, you should not read anything so far. The first thing you need to do after understanding that there's a debate between EVs, you go to the questions and you look at something like question number 1. To what extent does Adam think that electric vehicles will be beneficial? So, to what extent? Now, this can be paraphrased in so many ways. It could be, what does Adam think about electric vehicles? Or how far does he agree with electric vehicles? And in this case, in this passage, there's not even a mention of Adam saying, I agree to some extent or some degree. Instead, it says Adam's overall opinion. You want to observe from his comments what his idea behind EVs is going to be. So it's simple. You know the keyword. We're talking about Adam. We're talking about electric vehicles. We want to look at paragraph number 1 that discusses atoms. Frederick is discussed in the next 2 paragraphs, as you can see from the first lines of these paragraphs. And the last paragraph, once again, talks about Adam James. And remember, this is his full name, so they can use the last name just to confuse you. So I'm going to read paragraph 1 and paragraph 4. Now, reading paragraph 4 already, I know that the answer is not here. It's talking more about some specifics, but this is not a specific question. This question is about, in general, what does he think about electric vehicles? And his opinions are mentioned right here. He's a staunch believer in EVs. So this guy supports it. And he is a proponent, which means a supporter. See how I mentioned important vocabulary? Of a green environment, as well as a major activist when it comes to opposing industrialists in their move towards high plastic usage along with fossil fuels. So I get the idea that he loves electric vehicles, he's an environment guy, and he hates industrialists. This is what I'm trying to tell myself to simplify everything that I have read, and also to paraphrase it, because questions and options will be paraphrased. So now when I go to the options, after looking at the question, after looking at the passage, then you go to the options. And it says, he strongly agrees with the technology. He does not, okay? And he partially does not agree with technology either. What we know about him, the way we explain it to ourselves, is he does not like industrialists. So he is either strongly disagreeing or partially disagreeing with the technology. So the first thing I did is narrow down my 2 best answers. It's either B or C. The only difference now are these keywords, strongly and partially. Well, the answer should be strongly. And why? You can go above to confirm. He's a proponent of green environment as well as a major activist when it comes to opposing industrialists. So he's a major activist. It's not a minor thing. He's a big thing. He really hates industrialists. And there is the word technology that is paraphrasing industrialists. And now I know the answer is B. So that's the strategy. You got to look at the question, go to the passage, come back down, narrow down the 2 best choices, and pick one that matches the exact wordings or paraphrased wordings. Similarly, when we go to the comments section, here the first lines are going to be your friend, guys. Remember that. So when this guy says, I'm shocked to see that Frederick obviously it looks like he is going to be negative about Frederick. That's why he is shocked. So the answer here should be something negative. In fact, the whole tone and all the remaining answers are going to be negative as well, because this guy does not like Frederick, so he's going to have that opinion where he agrees with James. And this guy is going to be an environmentalist as well. So once I know his strength, his opinion, and where he's coming from, I'll be able to answer everything. And since I know that this is going to be something negative, I'm going to pick something negative like this one or this one. This is also negative. Child labor is allowable. It's a neutral thing. It's not negative or positive. Supports coal burning plants. It's also not negative or positive, but it could be in context. Now, of course, here we know that the first two options are negative. They're likely the answers. So we'll go up and confirm, and we'll make sure it's not talking about coal burning plants. It's not talking about child labor. And among the first two options, we'll pick which one is the closest. And guys, that's the strategy. You want to understand where the commenter is coming from at the end. And initially, you want to understand where these two people arguing are coming from and use these strategies in both sections of Part 4 to score a high CLB in your CELPIP reading.